So as a child, depending on the stimuli that we get from our environment and from the people around us, even from the things that we eat, we begin to take on coping mechanisms for certain events or experiences that seem to be traumatic or not so embracing, or that seem neglectful. We take on coping mechanisms to cope with that. Some people numb themselves to those experiences. Some people tell themselves they don't care. They get perspectives, that help them to move forward. Two people can grow up in a household where their parents is abusive, and one person can cope with that by shutting down when people are overdoing authoritarian positions, and they can start to have that when they get older. So when they get older, and that would leave them susceptible to being up under a authoritarian figure and not speaking up. Even you can see that in jobs and relationships. You don't speak up, you just accept, you allow people to speak on you, talk on you, and even put hands on you. Another child can grow up in the same environment with abusive parents, and they cope with that by believing that it's love, and that's how you show love in the world. So when they get into relationships and they feel emotionally triggered, they hurt the other person physically because they believe look, I love you, and that shows the obsessiveness. So even if we do grow up in with a crazy childhood, as we get older, it's important to seek help, seek balance, seek understanding of what true love is, and how to love yourself and others, and ways to express your energy that is conducive and progressive and positive for yourself and other people and the people around you, the people that you say you love. Okay, a lot of people in relationships, when they feel like it's okay to put hands on another person, basically it's stemming from, oh, I love you, so I'm going to try to control you. I don't want you to leave, so I'm going to try to control you. Not realizing that is a coping mechanism that they took on as a child because of neglect, or because of feeling of inadequacies, because not getting the right affection or attention. So they don't want to lose a person, so they try to hold on to something that is not healthy for them. So this is all psychological studies, and I know some people actually went to school for psychology. I just feel like I'm a natural psychologist, and I don't always believe in the textbook ways of explaining life. So you can go to school, and I used to say this about marketing because I was in marketing for a while. You can go to school for that, and that don't mean that I won't come up with other ideas and perspectives based on my experiences and my own Akashic records or internal understanding. And it might be different from yours, from your textbook understanding. So when it comes to childhood issues, acceptance, all these type of things are issues that people have. But what is different from somebody that grows up and creates a cult from those issues? And not to say, I don't like that. I like, creates a group. We'll say a group from those issues. So you can create a group. You can attract people because you want attention, because of the lack of attention you got when you're a child. This is why it's so important to do inner work. We can't say that everybody has the same intentions because we are not in them. We're not within them. We can observe and we can say based on our perspective, but everybody has to do their own inner work. And part of the inner work is to understand your intentions behind what you do. I had to do some inner work recently too, to understand my intentions whenever I attract people. And this just went back to when I was managing models and I had my modeling and my music and acting agency. I noticed that I would want to have people, it was very impersonal. And even in my experience with the cult, it was very impersonal. I want these people around because I want to do what I need to do when it comes to my mission or the goals that I have. So it's not that I've always cared about the people that I attract. I cared about if you're able to handle the mission or the purpose. There's this one time, and this is how I know I do have empathy, but there's this one time I had a girl, she was always talking about how she wanted to dance and stuff, so I provided her opportunities. we get to a event, and there's a mainstream artist from Florida that was performing there, and I was providing him with dancers, and she gets there and she decided she don't want to dance. And so it just made me look bad, and this was our agreement. So as we leave, we're getting into it, and I'm just like, you know what, you're not coming to my house. I'm not about to show you where I live at. You know, you said you was going to do something, you didn't want to do it, just call an Uber, you know, call somebody else. And she was just like, well, I'm pregnant. And in that moment, I was like, oh wow, in my head. But outwardly, I was like, what does that got to do with anything? You know what I'm saying? I was very insensitive to her being pregnant and being young, and you know, I cared more about the goals, you know, of what we set in the agreement that we had versus, you know, what she was going through mentally or personally in her life. So I sat there and waited for her Uber and had her go, and I didn't want her to come to my house for many other reasons as well. But I looked at that even as I was doing my inner work, and I was like, damn, like, I feel bad for that. I feel like I was very insensitive to what she was going through because I care more about, you know, what I'm trying to build. So I understand that. And I think I can articulate that better, but that was a point, but there's other points to that. There's other things I had to do inner work in when it comes to, you know, my intentions. So what makes somebody, like, you can create a group, and I don't feel like cults or groups or tribes or stuff is always like a bad thing. I don't feel like cults is always a bad thing. Yeah, they may have a bad connotation because how we look at it, but it's essentially a group of people that comes together with a ideology that, or a belief or a way of life that's different from the masses, from the society that they live in. So they stand out, or they're outcasted because of their beliefs. Most of the time, what we think about when people say cults is that group gone wrong under a charismatic, manipulative leader that essentially ends up committing crimes when it comes to abuse, when it comes to killings, and when it comes to like I don't know if the sexual acts is a crime. See, if we seen a group of people and they believed in the poly where you're just open, like Willow Smith said that she was in, I don't remember which poly term it is, but it's like a poly relationship where you're just open. So you may be with this person intimately or that person intimately. It's like a group relationship where people have sex wherever they feel like it. So and there's other words for that too, like I done forgot it, but you know, where you're like a group sex, like group. So if we see that and you're gonna say, well, that's a cult, you know what I'm saying? Or is that a group that just believes in what they believe in? So, you know, I just feel like we should draw the line between what a group is and then a group that commits crime. So even people call this like a sex cult. So I don't know if you mean because they're open having sex, this and that, or somebody has to have sex. Like, I feel like if somebody says, you know what, I'm creating a group, and if you come here, you have to have sex with me, and everybody here agrees with that, would that be a group that has a certain sexual belief or way of life, or would that be a sex cult? You know what I'm saying? So I believe that the negative connotation in cults is when people are forced against their will, and when people are doing things that they didn't agree to. Even if you didn't agree at one point, but you end up agreeing, that's a little bit different. So I feel like cults, just the bad connotation of cults is when you have crimes. So physically forcing someone to have sex with you, that is a crime. But, you know, someone agreeing in whatever capacity, I don't know if we can consider that a crime. You know, if somebody seduces you and makes you want to have sex with them when you didn't want to at first, is that a crime? So I would like to look into the mentality of that. And not only that, I would love to talk about consent too in a different video. So my thing is, I don't feel like these cult leaders, so to speak, actually study indoctrination or what it is to be a cult leader. I believe that certain steps and events and emotional things that they took on, that their emotional preferences or the things that they took on as they went through life, helped them to align with being a certain type of leader, and the certain traumas that they have make them have this similarities in wanting to do, the sexual acts and the evil stuff. So I believe that, cult leaders just have a certain type of personality that can align them with that. Maybe, and this is just a study, we don't have to study this deeper, but maybe a certain type of personality can have this spark of purpose in their life where they start to talk about something that maybe helped them at first, but then they start getting this attention and affection and people that just like, and all of worshiping them, and then that goes to their head or to their ego and their sense of self, and now they feel like they're so powerful, and now they want to express the traumas that they've been through in life. I would like to know the source of what a person with a certain personality, how they can, just end up becoming this leader, and a leader that implements negative, lack of empathy, weird ass expressions when it comes to leading a group. And it's interesting because a lot of them have so much similarities, like believing that the world is coming to an end, right? And so many people do this, though. Many group leaders believe this. So I'm like, what is the psychology? What's the source of this belief system? What is the source of this perspective, right? Like, yes, you have I don't know if you start out like this, but you have like a higher sense of self. Like, you have this narcissistic ego. And ego is not bad, but there's a healthy way to have an ego where that you're just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not just the best person in the world. Like, you can believe you're a good person, but just to believe you're better than every single person, that's a unhealthy sense of ego or an unhealthy admiration for yourself. And that's cult leaders and cult members all have this unhealthy admiration for this person. But it's not even about the person. It's about the energy that they possess. So even when you look at the cult leader as a person, you have to look at the energy that is possessing them or that they possess. Which one is it? So they have this like sense of urgency. You know what? Like, you need to listen to me because I have the keys and this is what's going to happen and the world's going to end. So, there's a time, and they have similar ideologies. And it's weird because, yes, when I heard Nature Boy talking, I heard truth. I heard a doctrine that I was interested in, but when I hear other cult leaders talk, I'm like, how could somebody listen to that shit? The same way people would look at Nature Boy and be like, how can anybody listen to this shit? You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting, but they're good at having, getting people to have a sense of belonging. See, when I brought together groups, when it comes to the promotions, I had a company called Pretty Hustle Promotions, and whenever I brought together the people, I knew that they wanted a sense of belonging. They was happy. I used to say they're just happy to be a part of something. And that may be our instincts, like, yes, we want to be a part of a group. We come from tribal living. We want to belong to something. We want to have meaning and purpose in our lives and be surrounded by people that accept us, get us, and pour into us. Right. And it's interesting because I on one hand, I would say being in Carbonation was the most freest, loving environment that I've, ever been in and that I've had. And I still connect to that. I'm like, wow, like I felt like I can be myself. I felt like one reason why I gained weight spiritually is why I gained weight physically in a spiritual sense was because I just let go of all my issues and my problems, and I'm just like flowing with life, and I had a sense of direction, and I was surrounded by people that even if I had issues, they're gonna want to help with that. Like it is a crazy psychological experience to have, because on the other hand, you have the negative side, the drama, the unhealthy expressions, like the control, the manipulation, the lectures, and it's also interesting because I have came from people, like when I was at a younger age, there was a guy that was like kind of like a father figure, I would say, or just like a leader in my life. And I'm not going to hold you. All my relationships and almost all the men that I've attracted has an energy like Eligio. So but with him, he just touched on a spiritual, a religious type of basis that I didn't have a religious foundation. So I didn't have that, and he touched on that. So that's why he's like at a certain level. But all the men I've attracted have a lot of energies that Eligio possessed. But at a young age, I used to sit and listen to this guy. He said he used to be a pimp or whatever, but he was like a father figure or a mentor type thing. But anyways, he would lecture us, for me and some other people I was with. He would lecture us for hours. And I would be, it's so interesting. I was the same way I was with Eligio. I was so interested in what he was saying. Like, and he was talking about being a pimp and how he had all these people, doing this and that. And if I had 10 girls, they would all come to me. And I ended up creating a modeling agency where I had a little bit of that ideology. Like, well, I'd rather have the quantity instead of quality. And then I had to realize quality is better than quantity. So I was thinking, if I had 100 ladies or 100 men and women that, are involved with my company, then I would make so much more money. But, I had to come to realize now it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality of the people that you have. And, so I'm just going back, but best believe I've changed a lot of my ideologies, but it is interesting to look at the patterns in my own life. Like I had a boy, somebody that I was with that literally put me in the corner. So seeing Eligio put somebody in the corner wasn't far off from my experiences. And I'm just being vulnerable with this right now because this has all been a psychological study for me. And I'm guessing the people that watch it over and over and over, or has watched it for years, it's a psychological study for you too. It's very intriguing and interesting to understand the mind of what happened, what can happen to our people, and where the depths of where our mind can go. So it wasn't off. A lot of his ideologies wasn't off from the people that I've attracted. The narcissistic behaviors, the control. Like I had a relationship with somebody that literally, in a subtle way, had me cut off my family and had me go through a whole pregnancy without telling my mother until the end, until I'm just like, look, I just really, you know what I'm saying? And it was the whole mental thing. But I'm not gonna blame them. I'm gonna say like, damn, I was weak in that moment. I needed to gain power. So I still hold myself accountable for everything that I've been through and all of those things. So I never blame the other person. Yes, I hold them accountable for what they've done, but I also don't spend so much time on holding the other person accountable because I don't feel like that's how I make change. I make change by changing myself so that I know what I've gotten myself into and how not to get myself into it anymore. So And that's only from recent times of me becoming conscious of what's going on through Nature Boy's teaching. He's helped me become aware and present in what's going on in my life, and even the experience there and leaving and actually being able to have time to do the inner work has helped me tremendously. So what's the source to why people act the way they act when it comes to unhealthy reactions to life? And what's the solution to that? Well, I can say as an adult, you have to take accountability, and you're going to have to find your own solutions. You have to have the desire to want to do that. Other than that, the universe has its way of putting you in situations, getting you locked up, having bad things happen to you in order for you to look at yourself, do the inner work, and make the necessary changes to ascend. Other than that, when it comes to children, because we all start out as that, and that is the best time to be able to stop unhealthy patterns and to make sure that children don't resort to unhealthy ways of coping and reacting to certain stimuli being sent to them, is, for one, as the parents, we have to be the change, make changes within ourselves, study this, have the divine knowledge of psychology and how to interact and to raise children in the most healthy, divine way. And we need to also create villages. We need communities. We need to have people all around our children to be able to understand them, put love into them, and be patient with them and things like that. But of course, coming from the society that we're in, we have to change first. We have to have that divine understanding first, because if we come together with all of our traumas and no solutions, and we try to create a tribe out of that, we're going to just be a whole bunch of people coming together trauma bonding until unless we have the solutions and the direct application of the solutions every single day. I don't believe that the best way to handle this is to come together as groups to heal. I believe the healing work is done individually. I do believe that you can attract people if you have a strong enough desire to assist you in your healing, but they can never do the healing work for you. You have to do it. So, and there's levels to healing as well. So there is an isolation period where you definitely have to isolate and go into yourself. And then there comes a time where you're going to have to be around people. You're going to have to come together, especially if your goal and your mission is to have community and to live a tribal village lifestyle and to raise your children like that. You're going to have to come around people and actually, put your inner works to test. Like, you're going to have to see how much you progressed through your interactions, because your interactions with people will show you where you're at mentally and will show you the things that you may need to work on. And then in that time, you have to have the desire. So if we do have a group of people, there's a certain level of inner work that each person has to do before they come together with other people, or they can be like the bad apple in the group, or if you have more bad apples, you're going to spoil the whole bunch. So you got to have people that actually done a certain inner works. And when you come into the group, the majority of the people in the group are at a certain level of inner works, and every single day they're striving to be the best that they can be. And that will help other people that may lack in certain self-development areas to come up. Because if you have a group of people that are so high vibrational and divine and beautiful within and out, not without, but within, beautiful, like they have a light, beautiful heart, they're patient, kind, and just graceful and honorable. If you have those type of people and you put somebody that has a desire but is at a certain level of their healing journey, those people will be able to help them come up. But if you have the opposite, where you're having a lot of people that they have their traumas and they feel like it's okay to be the God and the devil, like it's okay to release your issues onto other people without taking accountability and doing the inner work, then anybody that comes in that even has the desire to want to do better, they're going to fall to the majority. So this is how humanity, or even probably just life works. The majority of the people that's around you, your environment has an effect on you. So it's important not only that the physical environment you have, but the people in your environment are vibrating, so to speak, on a certain frequency. They have a certain level of thoughts. Now there's like I've came together with people that, you know, they want to do better, they know how to do better, but they have maybe certain ideologies or thoughts or perspectives that, oh, it's okay to, you know, be toxic in this way a little bit because, you know, or they may be like, oh, it's okay for me, like, I just brought that out of me because that's in me and I have to bring all the demonic shit out of me. Like, not all of that should be expressed. And in any ways, you can actually do inner work before you even express toxic traits, you know? You can actually do the inner works before you even have that coming out of you. So, and not only that, also I've learned that when people understand how to act, like people will say mentally or consciously, like, no, I know that's wrong, I shouldn't do that. But then if they continuously have the pattern of doing it, then possibly the environment that they're in isn't the best environment for them to change. Okay, so you can have a conscious way of saying, you know what, I want to be better, I don't want to do this no more, I don't want to argue no more, but then it keeps happening. So if it keeps happening, maybe you need to change your environment, something's not working. So I'm always for solutions, and I feel like solutions are progressive, not solutions don't come with a whole bunch of excuses. Okay, so if you want to change, you will change. If you have a unhealthy perspective that's holding you back from change, then I don't feel like I feel like you should go out and be in other environments in order to be the best you can be. Other than that, I don't want to create an environment of people that are just trying to heal, you know, that wants to, you know, just let out their toxic traits. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. You know, oh, now you have a toxic trait of this, you have a toxic trait of that, you know, no. If we see anything that's toxic, we will address it and we will change it right then and there. We will hold that frequency with repetition over and over and over. So, and if you fail to hold a healthy way of expressing yourself through your repetition, then you're going to have to go out and experience life in a different environment. But solutions, you know, what is the solution? I believe having that healthy environment, knowing like, oh yeah, a child can get upset. You know, a child they may want to throw this glass on the floor. And then you don't have to sit there and whoop their ass. I know we want to resort to that because it's the easiest way to discipline, is to send that electrical signal to them, but that doesn't help them. That actually suppresses them. Imagine we have a whole society that, oh, when somebody does something that we deem to be low vibrational, we send electrical signal through smacking their skin or smacking their body or hurting their body. That's not a solution. That suppresses people from expressing. This throwing a thing on the ground, we shouldn't take that personal. This is a way that the child coped with a stimuli sent to their senses, and this is their solution. This is their reaction to it, throwing this glass on the ground. Yes, as some adults that hasn't healed or hasn't got to that space of compassion and understanding and psychological knowledge of how psychology works, our reactions, and I've been like this too, and I'm working on that every day. Like I love those videos of the parents that are like patient with the child, and they're not triggered because their child's triggered. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us actually do go through that. Like our child is triggered emotionally, you know, maybe don't feel understood, you know, don't know how to articulate themselves, you know, feels outcasted, and then they react with anger. Okay, most parents are going to be like, you know, get with the child, is going to get angry too. Like they're going to allow the child's trigger to trigger them. We have to get to a space where we're not triggered, and we're not taking things personal, or we're not thinking that this child is bad because they're reacting in the way that their mind feels is best. We take the time and say, you know what I'm saying, there's solutions. Clean that shit up. But we may not say shit. You know what I'm saying? You need to clean it up. First of all, we would probably address the mental frame. See, all this behavior, all these negative behaviors has a source. Okay? So when we see a child throw this glass on the ground, we like to think, you know, they're bad, they did a bad behavior. But there's a source to that, and it's always spiritual, it's always mental. And so we have to look at it. Well, what's the source of this? And why do you feel like this is the best way to express yourself when you feel this energy? Okay, because there's so much energy, emotion in us. Sometimes we don't know how to cope with it. And we resort to certain reactions. And most of the reactions we resort to is because we see other people doing it. So we have to just sit down and really understand the psychology of our children. And I can't wait till we have that type of environment where we're just all the adults. And some child may like this adult solutions better than that adult, but anywhere they turn, they're gonna have support. Okay, a support system that would help them. So we raise these narcissists. We raise these type of people that react in society in an unhealthy manner. So we have to be the change. Period.